welcome to Conquering Mount Scrapmore with Brenda. I'm Brenda and we're here today to show you a little bit of strip piecing. And this block is very simple. It's a 9 patch within a 9 patch, or it's called like a double 9 patch. There's so many names that it's been known by. But before we get into the actual sewing and showing you how to do strip piecing, because I don't often get a chance to do strip piecing because my scraps aren't that big, I want to introduce you to a lady. Is Moonkin Stitchery. Now, she also has a YouTube channel and a website. Now, her website, because we're always looking for a real cool place to go check out free patterns, her website's got some beautiful quilting free patterns. So when you go over there to check out her YouTube channel, tell her that Brenda from Conquering Mount Scrapmore sent you, and then go check out her website where she's got a whole bunch of beautiful quilt patterns for free. Now, also in the show notes or the description or the see more box, depending on what device you're on, you're going to find the cutting instructions for what we're doing here today. But you're also going to find the Facebook group room where we are doing picture sharing and asking questions and fabric swaps. We are using the virtual sewing room. It's a lot of fun what's going on over there. And you'll also find the Zoom sew date links from now until the end of the year. So if you're not part of Facebook, you can still come on and join the fun and get to meet a whole bunch of people from all over the world. I also do free speaking engagements, so if your guild is looking for someone to speak to them for free, here I am. You know, I'll do the best I can to keep it cost friendly for both the guild and myself, right? So, you know, I do them by Zoom, so that way they're not incurring any traveling expenses or all the rest of that stuff that they would do for speakers. So, lastly, share, like, and subscribe. We would really appreciate your help out and sharing us with your friends. So, come on in. We've got some sewing here to do today. Okay, here we're at the sewing table, or sewing machine, and I'm just going to give you a quick, the squares are 3.5, right? 3.5. And this needs to at least be 10.5 long. These shorter strips have to be at least, and then these have to be like 15. I believe it was 15.5, right? Now, it's because we're going to cut them into units. So I'm going to keep this kind of handy too. And I got a rotary cutter over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the strip sets first. So the shorter ones, now I never get to strip piece, so this is kind of like a novelty for me. They're 1.5 inch strips, right? So you want to make sure that you get that 1/4 inch seam is a good 1/4 inch. You don't want it too long, you don't want it too short, you don't want it, you know, all over the place, right? So, and so you need 2 colors for the longer one and 2 whites for the shorter one. But we're just going to do quick strip sets. Okay, here we go. Here we go. This block is going to be unfinished at 9.5 or finished at 9. So, you know, it's kind of a standard size, you know, for a block. Now, with the short one, I'm going to fold it so the blue, it gets pressed to the dark. That's where you want to go with this. You want it pressed to the dark. And you want to put the white, okay, you want to put the white on white. Okay. Just like this. And because your strips are not really long, you know, you're not doing a full width of fabric kind of thing. You're just doing shorter strips. You don't need as much, you don't need to be worrying about them bowing or anything like that. So, now, again, with this, we're going to flip it and then press to the dark. And I'm just, like you would, if you were doing this for a good quilt, you would do it with an iron and everything, but I will give it a good press after. Okay, so now I'm going to do the other color. Okay. Now, okay. Okay, so I have a bunch of leader enders here I should have did, but oh well, okay. So this one is this is a really fast way of doing 9 patches, where you need a white, like white in the center. Okay, now we're just going to push this one, and they nest. They will nest perfect, right? Okay, there we go. So now we have all of this. So let's get our 4 squares. These 4 3.5-inch squares that you need for the corners. Let's get that, and let's move this design board. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to speed cut through this a little bit. And we're going to, for every 2, we're going to have 1. So I'm laying out my blocks, and I'm lining them up the best I can so that they're square. You know, and I gotta get past that hinge. So they're square to each other, and there we go. So the first thing I'm gonna do, you need to make 5 9 patches, right? So I cut my strips a little long, right, which will help me. And now I'm going to measure out 1.5 inches. So this is 1 9 patch, 2 9 patches, 3 9 patches, 4 9 patches, and 5 9 patches. And I don't know why my white, oh maybe my white, this was a little bit longer than it needed to be, but that's okay. That's okay. I can trim that up just real quick, like, and now I have a little incomplete rails block, but I'm not going to use I'm just going to throw it into the orphan block challenge. So anyway, so now I have 5, count them, 5 9 patches. So now comes the challenge of, let's move this all out of the way. Okay, so now comes the challenge of 9 patches. So we want them to look like this, right? Can you see that well? Okay, so the blue goes into itself and the white goes out. So they're all going to nest really well. So we're just going to gently push them together and push them through the sewing machine. Very quick way to make 9 patches. Okay, so here we go. I like making 9 patches with strips, but I very seldom have scraps that are big enough to work into a strip set. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes my scraps aren't big enough. And that's, I know some people have asked, can you show us how to do strip piecing? And it's like, well, this is possibly the easiest way. You just make your strips and you cut them to the size that you need, right? So each one of these was 1.5 wide. In order to make a 3.5-inch 9 patch that's unfinished at 3.5, right? You have to have, you know, a 1.5-inch strips. You cut your 1.5-inch strip sets, right? And then you sew them together as a good 1/4 inch. Not too big, not too small. And we're almost there. There's 5 more little seams to go, and then I'll show you the layout that we're going to work with. Now this is also called a double Irish shake. This had so many names, it was ridiculous. Okay, now, see this? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up this way and open it up this way. And then I'm going to finger press this like this. So it lays nice and flat. You can see where my seams matched up good. And that's what it's going to look like from the back. This. But I'll show you once we'll get the other side done too. Because they work up this way very quick. And they nest well. So, you know, life is good, right? Okay. Let's get this, pop that, give it a good little finger press along the back. The back usually works good. And then we'll get the next piece on, and you're sewing it like that so it looks like a 9 patch, right? There we go. This was also, yeah, it was a single Irish shade. There, the Barbara Bachman Encyclopedia, when I found it, or found something close to what we're doing here today, it had so many names. It was like, okay. I love the Barbara Bachman Encyclopedia, but, you know, people say, well, isn't it called this? And, you know, and of course, I mean, some of these blocks have had, you know, I don't know how many names. Now this is a real easy one. You could go bigger with this too. And, you know, just do a larger scale. If you don't like working with 1.5 inch scales, I mean, the 1/2 inch strips, I mean, you could definitely make this a bigger strip, and then you just have to change the size of your squares, right? It all depends on the size of your scraps, and I do encourage you to use your scraps, right? I mean, you know, sometimes those scraps are, you know, have you ever seen those house quilts where every house is a little bit different, and you know, the woman says it took me 8 years to make this house quilt because, you know, as she was sewing up her scraps, she was making them into these little itty bitty house blocks. And they were just adorable, but she needed enough variety, so she had to wait 8 years, you know. And they're gorgeous. They're simply phenomenal when you have all those little scraps. You know, those little itty bits and pieces, you know, that you're not throwing out. So, okay, here we go. So now we've got the first of the 9 patches, and I'm just going to run that last one through, just get it off the machine. I probably should have put a leader ender through, but that's okay. So now I'm going to do the same thing with this and give it a twirling those seams. Now I'm going to show you what the back looks like. This is what the back looks like, right? So that means that when if I was doing nothing but 9 patches in a quilt top, right, and this is how I was choosing to make them, my 9 patches would fit together like this, where the open one would fit to the closed one, right, like this line here. But because we're doing something different here today, and there's, you know, all white in the middle in this part, right, it doesn't matter, but they would fit together if you do them all the same way, like sew them all the same way like this. They would fit together, they would nest beautifully. You could make a postage stamp quilt this way, you know, just out of 9 patch. I find it easier to do a postage stamp quilt out of 4 patches, but you could do it out of 9 patches. It's whatever you would like to do, you know. So, okay, now here we are. We got 5 of these, and they're finger pressed. Yes, I know I should probably do them differently. So now on the 4 corners, we're going to lay them out like so, and then we're going to put them like this. Oops. Wait a minute, that's wrong. Let's go like this. The 4 corners are not corners. The white are not in the corner. I got it backwards, I'm sorry. Did I confuse you? Okay, so this is how it's going to be laid out. And now we're just going to take them and web them and sew them, right? I mean, that's pretty much where we're at. And we're going to make sure all the seams are going the right. If they were finger pressed in that direction, that's the direction they're going to go in. So like I say, this is just a cute, this block finishes at 9 inch, and it's just cute, you know. one of those blocks that's just, it's so simple, yet so lovely, and it's a great use of scrap. You could put all the different colors into these blocks if you wanted. It's up to you. Oh, I think, did I flip a seam? No, I didn't. Well, let's not flip this one then. Okay. Alrighty. And webbing blocks, I've talked to you about webbing blocks before. The easiest way to do quilt blocks. Right, so it's all webbed, and we got it right, so let's keep rolling along. Okay. Alright. The center one just gets pushed over. I was kind of surprised to see a piece when I was playing around with my scraps. I was like, oh, this would be fun. And then I saw these pieces of this blue, and I was like, that's big enough to string or to strip set piece. So yay! Okay, there we go. Run the plug through there. Now, this is what it looks like. Okay, see, this is coming together really quick. Okay, I'll get this out of the way because we don't need it in the way. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I have been doing speaking engagements, and they're really, they have been lots of fun. Now, the seams here, they want to press in, right? So this seam here, because there's a few seams along here, so it's forcing the weight in, so that instead of fighting with your quilts, just let it happen. Just let it go that way. That's fine. You know, sometimes we struggle, oh no, it's got to go this way. No, it doesn't have to. And this weight is thick enough that the glue is not going to show through. Okay. Now, whip this around, go like this, turn this over. Like I say, if you had a bunch of these that you're getting ready for a quilt, these, at this point, you know, when they're webbed together only in one direction, you can take them into like a retreat that your guild is putting on, or you know, a big sew date that you're in person, and still be able to have fun and talk and, you know, laugh with all the other quilters, and it would be fun, you know, it would just be fine. There we go. Now, I'm going to show you what it looks like from the back. Well, the camera's up close. Okay. So, there's what it looks like from the front. Now, this is being pushed this way, right? Because of the number of seams. And there's no, it's pointless to fight with it, right? I mean, this part is being pushed this way and this part's being pushed this way. If you press it in, you press it in, right? I mean, that's, you know, that's where the block is going to lie flattest, is if you just press them in on its, you know, on the middle. You know, like this one is going out because that's the way it's landing. So let's get to our ta-da moment, and you can see what this looks like from the front. Okay, so this is your ta-da moment for your double 9 patch. This came out really cute, and you know, I'm looking at this in the video. I mean, this is a beautiful graphic block. This comes in several names. Oh my goodness, there was so many names, including single Irish chain, patch, or 9 patch within a 9 patch. It's just all sorts of things. But what I wanted to show you here was the strip piecing and how quickly you can make 9 patches. Now, if you don't like working with the 1.5 or 1.5 inch strips, you could use 2 inch or 2.5 inch strips. Just change the size of your your low volume blocks, right? And that will, you know, help make the block bigger for you, and you don't have it so small. This one, the cutting instructions comes out to 9.5 unfinished, 9 inch finish, and it's just for me, it's kind of the right size. It's a nice little size block. It's a, you know, it's not too big. It doesn't get too unwieldy, and you can make lots of these very quickly. So I do hope you try this block. And until we have a chance to meet again, I wish you all the best in your sewing room and everything in your life too. So you take care, okay? Bye! My husband and I would love to thank you for all of the amazing people that we have met along this crazy YouTube adventure that we've been having. We do free speaking engagements too, so if you're part of a guild and they're looking for, you know, people to talk and, you know, and chat with, you know, in their monthly meetings, tell them that I'm doing free ones just to help the guilds out, because it's been a tough time for the guilds as well. You know, share, like, and subscribe with your friends. You know, make sure that they're, you know, they get the word out on us. That's, I mean, that's the best way you can do to help us out. So until we meet again, I want to thank you. Okay, goodbye.